In this video, I'm going to be going through the progression of a baseball career and exactly what you need to do at each stage in order to level up to the next one. Whether you're a high schooler trying to play college ball, if you're a college guy trying to get drafted, or even an indie ball or low-level minor league guy that's trying to advance and make his way to the big leagues. These are the skills you need to have and how you can accomplish being in that 1% of the 1% that makes it to the very top of the pyramid. This perspective is coming from somebody that's worked with youth players, high school players, college players, all the way up to low-level minor leaguers and big leaguers. I've seen the full spectrum, and I have seen the differences between what works at certain levels, what works at others, and how to bridge that gap. So this is a clip from a group call where I'm talking with some of my remote athletes that I train and how they can work through each part of the system, master the skills they need to make it all the way up to their dream. If you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe and like it. Without further ado, here we go.
But then once you get into high school and you want to make that next jump to college baseball, that's where there's kind of um, a new level you kind of have to reach. Because once you get to college, everybody's got some talent. Nobody gets recruited to college without any sort of talent. And I mean, obviously, depending what school you go to or what area you're in, like some are more loaded with talent than others. Um, but at the end of the day, like everybody's got something. That's what they got recruited on. With that, like what gets you from high school to college is the grit, the work ethic, and like really putting in extra hours, like practicing on your own, um, putting in that effort and like really wanting to play in college. Like I always say, if you're like a high school freshman and you really want to play in college baseball and you truly want it bad enough, like you'll be able to find somewhere to play. Um, and being the guy that does that extra work, shows up early, stays late, um, just works their ass off at practice is enough to get you a chance somewhere. And that consistent effort is how you create trust with those college coaches and get recruited. Um, and then the next step, just like how the step from youth to high school is kind of easier, that step from high school to college is like a pretty significant jump in difficulty. Then there's another pretty significant jump. There's even less guys that go from college baseball to professional baseball. And this is really where most of you guys like want to know how this is done. Um, Biggest thing I've noticed, because I've coached all these levels. I've coached youth. I've coached not at a high school, but I've coached high school level pitchers. I've coached in college, and now obviously I coach pro ball. The biggest difference is the actual quality of the work. So, like I was saying, to get to college, you have to be a hard worker. You have to put in the hours. But the difference between the guys that put in the hours in college that don't make it and the ones that do is part of it is talent. Like the guys that barely scrape into college and are like not particularly talented, it's a lot tougher to make it pro, obviously. Um, but there's plenty of guys that have professional level talent that have a chance that don't make it because the work they're doing is not quality work. That really more means like, are you doing a plan that actually works for you? Or are you just doing your like stock generic plan that your school gives you? And that's not to like shit on school lifting programs or anything, because some of them are really good. Some of them are probably better than the ones I give. But there's also a lot, and I've seen a lot of them that are really bad. Um, and so being able to understand like what is quality work for you and what is going to move the needle and get you better is going to be what separates you from the other college guys and gets you on those scouts radars. Um, and with that, like I'll touch on this a little bit more, but like having intentional reps and not just not just doing squat reps in the gym because it's a day to do squats. not just doing your throwing program because you do your throwing program every day at practice. Like having intentional reps and like knowing what you're trying to work on every single time you do something is how you separate the quality work from just like generic work, right? And again, that to me is the biggest difference I notice in professional athletes and your standard college athlete. All your guys' dream is to get signed and play pro ball. Um, and that's basically every kid's dream. But at the end of the day, it's not really their like final end goal dream. Like nobody dreams of when they're 9 years old of like one day I want to be a high A baseball player. Like everybody wants to play in the big leagues. The reason you want to get to pro ball is because it gets you on track to get to the big leagues. And once you get to pro ball, you still have a whole bunch of levels that you have to climb and a lot of different guys you got to beat out to be able to get that shot at the big leagues. So the final climb is working your way up from getting drafted and getting to the big leagues. And this is, again, like I said, each step gets significantly more difficult. This one is honestly probably easier than the college to pro step. The odds are more in your favor. If you get drafted, like the scouts see something in you, like you have tools that are at least projected to be big league quality. And it's about finding what works for you, finding consistency, and going out and performing. Bunch of guys that have gotten released, guys that get stuck at lower levels in the minor leagues. And now I've worked with a pretty significant number of big league guys. And the biggest things I noticed between the guys that get drafted and kind of fizzle out and the guys that make it all the way to the top, number one, being adaptable. A lot of these guys come in to the draft. Let's say they throw two pitches because sometimes guys get drafted and all they throw is like a good fastball and a slider. And their slider is their go-to pitch, and they got a ton of punch outs in college on the slider, and they love the way they throw it. They have good feel for it. When you get in, like there's going to be changes that you may not be comfortable with, especially right off the bat. Um, you might add a changeup and they might say, hey, you can't throw sliders to lefties. You got to throw this changeup more often. They might even take your slider that did really well in college and say, hey, we actually want to make it more of a sweeper rather than this hard slider. So we're going to change your grip. We're going to change the cue you throw it. We're going to change what count you throw it in, and completely wipe it. And the part that makes it difficult is sometimes that might be good advice, and sometimes that might be bad advice. Not every organization is necessarily like has a good track record for building big league pitchers. Um, a lot of times there's politics and there's coaches that they're trying to move up the system too, and they're kind of just trying to give you something so that if you do well, they can say, "Hey, I taught that guy his slider," and that helps them out. Um, there's not necessarily everything that you're told in pro ball is good advice. But the bottom line is if you want to be a big league pitcher, you're going to have to be adaptable. You're going to have to be willing and able to make changes that help you in your career. And whether every single thing you get told is actually going to help you or not, you have to have that ability because there's some guys I could give them a genius, like the biggest thing that's going to help them in their career and make them a big leaguer. And they are just too stubborn and too unable to make that change that they're going to get stuck. Where the guys that are able to do move through systems really quickly and go in their first year and get from single A all the way up to double A, all the way up to triple A. Next year, maybe like break the big leagues. Those guys that move really quickly, they pick up stuff really quickly. They learn that sweeper within a month or two. They maybe add a two seam. And those guys are also the ones that when they get to the big leagues, they stick. And that's the biggest thing because when you get to the big leagues and you have your kind of like plan of how you attack hitters and the things you do, like it might if you do really well and it works right off the bat, that's awesome. But the big league hitters are also the best in the world, and they adapt and they learn how you throw and how your stuff moves, and they see it, and you have to be able to adapt again, change something up, whether that's sequencing, whether that's a new pitch, whatever it is, you got to be able to change something up so that then when they adapt, you can be one step ahead. And then you're going to have to do it again and be one step ahead. And so the guys that are able to do that in the minor leagues are the ones that are able to do it in the major leagues and stick there.